If you own and shoot any HK pistols, you will know that while extremely reliable, the factory magazines that come with these pistols are extremely expensive. I think current market for these VP9 Match competition models run roughly around $50 to $60 per piece. Now, when I'm just shooting out in the backyard or over at the local range, I wanted a cheaper option to be able to run drills with that I wouldn't be afraid to drop them on the ground. Enter ETS mags. These guys are, of course, made in the United States. They are a polymer blend, and I already cut this open to make it easy. They are a polymer blend. Obviously, you can see the stuff here on the left side. Let me get that in frame. There we go. They're very impact resistant, chemical resistant, so your cleaning solvents and CLPs and stuff won't bother them. UV, temp resistant, and they're handy because you can see a visible indicator of the amount of rounds left in the magazine. These work fairly straightforward with, in this case, the VP9 Match. Let's see, insert them, and they will stick out roughly about the same distance as the factory mags would, although the base plate angle is slightly different. These do use, to the best of my knowledge, Glock pattern magazine base plates if you're looking to change these out. Now, I will drop the slide. Of course, you guys there in the camera. This is completely clear. If we insert the mag, it clicks right in like normal. I will press the paddle magazine release here. And they, actually let me move my hand so you can see that. They jet out of there. The mags themselves are fairly light, and spring is relatively stiff. So especially if you run them in a vertical orientation, they get out of there quick. Let me show you some other ones that I've had for quite a while here for the VP9 Match. Let's take a look. Alrighty, so comparing magazine sizes, let me set this back a little bit. We of course have our OEM German-made factory mag right here. There is our ETS magazine, and this is basically a flush fit ETS magazine. This has the tapered base plate on. See, they're a little bit shorter. And then these actually fit completely flush into the base. Again, they eject pretty well. I reliably lock the slide back. So that gives us some options as far as our VP9 Match goes. They bring a really nice value. I'll put the current up-to-date pricing on both of these models here, but I think I paid right around $12 or $14, I believe, for this guy here. Again, compared to between $50 and $60 for these German OEM ones. These are great mags, but they are pricey. One noteworthy consideration when you're using these polymer-bodied ETS style magazines as compared to the factories is that obviously the feed lips are a little bit beefed up, but your overall length, your max dimension for your overall length inside this magazine is slightly shorter than in the factory metal thin-walled magazines. I initially had issues when I first started using these. Actually, it was this one. I first had issues with them because my rounds were seated short enough to fit in the factory magazines, but they were actually binding the nose on the front of this mag. I shortened up my seating depth, reduced that overall length a little bit, and they ran flawlessly. You see this one here's got a little bit of dirt in, relatively easy to take apart. Just press in that little bottom pin, slide the bottom plate off, pull the spring and the follower out, no issues there. Alrighty guys, so we're out here at the range. I'm going to start with the magazines that are compatible with the VP9 Match first. That's going to be these three here, which are 17 rounders, and these two here, which they claim are, get on camera, 21 rounders. So for the sake of this comparison, I am going to load these guys up to full capacity because I haven't truly tested those yet. These guys here I know run to full capacity. For this test, I'm probably just going to load one to full capacity, and then the other two, just put like 2 rounds in each one, just so you can show that they lock open properly on the last shot, and that they drop free after you're done. Now, time to load some mags and get into it. starting off with our 21 rounders. Let's see how these do. I also want to test how well they seat, so I'm going to close the slide. I'm going to seat it like normal. Locked in nice and firmly. And I have the other one here in my pocket as well. Chambered the first round. Again, nice and tight in there. Let's see how they feed. And properly locked open on the last round. Drop free. Just close the slide. Try another one. And they're nice and snug, feeding great. If you want to check how many rounds you have left, easy enough to do. In this case, I have 3 rounds left. Locked open perfectly. That's it for that magazine. Up next, I have the 3 17 rounders. This one happens to have 2 rounds in. Just to verify that it'll lock open. Perfect lock open. Kicks free. Another 2 rounder. Perfect lock open. Drops free. And this one has 17 rounds in. Actually, I'm going to put this one in. So if I do it normally, nice to seat it, just a gentle tap in there, and they're seated perfect. Let's do this in one hand. And perfect lock open. As you can see, all the magazines that are designed for a VP9 pattern pistol function flawlessly. Now, let's hop on over to the P30 mags, see how they do. Now, if you carry a P30 subcompact as a carry gun, or if you want additional magazines for this pistol for range trips, of course, you have the option of running with the factory OEM mags. See, this is a German mag here. These run, I believe, between $45 and $55 a piece. And they are bomb-proof reliable. Like, these are great magazines, but they are pricey. Again, if you're looking for something for range use, you might not have known this, maybe you did, but you can use most VP9 pattern magazines in the P30 series of pistols. Now, obviously our factory fit mag, I personally like to practice with what I'm going to carry. So in that case, I'm looking for a shorter magazine that doesn't necessarily stick down as far as that one would, or, while I can definitely shoot these, something that sticks down that far is a little bit of cheating when you're going to be using this on the range. Now, let's take a look at another offering that ETS makes, and that is going to be their shorter magazines, like this one. Technically, this one is a 12-round capacity, although I've found best results using these ETS mags to download them maybe a couple rounds just to make it a little bit easier for feeding, especially when they're new and the springs are quite tight. These magazines are made specifically for the VP9SK. Now, one difference between the P30SK and the VP9SK is going to be in this magazine well right here. The VP9SK does not have this forward curved portion and these ears like this P30SK does. When we try to seat this magazine, I'll compare it to the, you can see lengthwise, if I put them base to base, they're close. They're not identical, but they're close. When we try to seat this magazine, if I push it in lightly, it kind of binds there. If I push really hard, I can get it to stick. You can see it's stuck. And push down on the release lever, and then I have to kind of manually strip it out. Close our slide. Again, push that in, and it finally clicks. So that time it actually ejected. But if you look really closely here, you can see those ears and this edge surface are bound up against each other right there, holding this thing in very high tension. What I'm going to do, because these mags are only like 12, 14 bucks a piece, I'm simply going to Dremel these corners down. Yes, I know, gunsmith Dremel, whatever. We're going to be careful. And these are cheap, and I can replace base plates if it goes bad. I'm just going to knock off a little bit of this corner and see if these fit a little better. They do eject quite vigorously. I'll try to catch it. Oop. And we dropped it. So that's definitely a plus. And drop the slide again. They do lock back. I don't think I have this one in all the way. If I close that, they will lock to the rear. Yeah, that one's stuck. Let's take these corners down a little bit, see how that does. As you can see here, I just took a little bit of silver Sharpie and marked the corners right where the bottom of the mag well is trying to actually bump into them. We're just going to lock those down a little bit, see how it does. For this process, I simply used a 120 grit Dremel sanding wheel and set the speed on the relatively low side so we didn't melt any of the plastic. And here, of course, checking the fit. They're fitting well. I'm just going to go in, dress up those corners, kind of smooth everything out, make sure there's no sharp edges, and try to blend that in as best as I can. Again, don't take too much material out here. Alrighty, and this is the final contour and the final cut on this magazine. Let's see how it fits. Nice and snug. Clicks in relatively easy. It's in snug. I don't have to whack it. Actually, let's compare that. Let me grab one of the other ones here. See here, the one on the right is non-modified. The one on the left has a slight scallop cut. With the non-modified one, get it to click in. It does pop out, but if you just push it normally, it comes right out. So there, it's good enough. It's in, right? Goes to come out. And then the one we edited those corners with, there we go. Now, I'll throw in a handy time lapse. Let's do two more. When making these relief cuts, like I mentioned before, I just take a silver Sharpie, mark the points where it's going to contact, and then just cut gentle scallops in and then round over the edges. And that's how you get super affordable practice magazines for your P30 subcompact. As you can see here, we have the OEM factory. If I drop the slide, obviously ejects nice and clean, locks the slide to the rear easily, and costs about $55. Our ETS magazines, right around $11, $12, I believe. Let me drop the slide first. Insert cleanly. You can see now that we modified them. Nice clear around the base. And easily locked to the rear. And come flying out of there like crazy. Alrighty, we're back at the bench. This time we're going to be loading up the magazines for the P30SK. In this case, we know these guys will function and feed just fine, but what I do want to check is whether or not they're going to lock open properly in the P30SK. So I'm going to load 2 rounds into each of these guys, like so. Two rounds in each of those. 2 rounds in these. And when you're using one of these mag loaders, one thing I've noticed is that first round, the Uplula mag loader doesn't always push it in right by hand. So sometimes you have to hand seat that first cartridge, and then they're a breeze to load. See if it'll do it on this one. Yeah, so it's binding. I don't know if it's pressing at the wrong angle on the follower or what it is. Let's get that first one in. Getting additionals in is easy. And then these I will top off. And filled. Alrighty. Let's take these down range, see how they do. Alrighty guys. Up first with the P30SK, we're going to have the 12-round VP9 SK magazines that we modified the base plate on so they fit properly. And decocked, I'm going to run this double to single drills. It's well seated. Let's see how we do. Okay. So it didn't lock open there, but it did when I just pulled it back. Interesting. And that magazine did not kick free. I had to manually strip it out. All right, next one. Again, 12-rounder. Okay. Weird. So it wasn't locking the slide back until I whacked it. Then it held the slide back. So it seems when you whack it, then's when it actually will bind the magazine. Interesting. Okay, last one. Rechambered. Mag's in there nice and tight. Let's run some more double to single action drills. I don't know if that's on camera. I stuck both of those in the same hole. Try that again. I do notice that if you put your finger, if you curl your finger right around in here, you do get a little bit of bite off the magazine, so I'm rolling my finger underneath, my pinky underneath. Again, no lockback. Does kick the mag free. If I seat the mag good, well, no, this one's not locking back either. That is weird. I'm honestly not sure why it's doing that. See, there it locks back, but now it won't kick free. Nothing's binding on this base plate. Interesting. I don't know if there's something different on the geometry on the insides. They feed and function just fine, except for locking back on the last shot. It's weird. Let's go grab the 17 rounders and the 21 rounders and see if they'll lock back on the last shot. Alrighty, I've got a whole pocket full of mags. We're going to start with the 21 rounders. Chambered one, good. Gonna run another. With all these, I think I'll just run double to single drills. Nothing. Did drop free though. Okay. We are chambered. Let's run one more. Not locking back. $17 rounder. Nothing. Okay. Another 17 rounder. Alrighty, ready. Nothing. Good news is they do drop free. Bad news is you get a click instead of a bang. Again, for range mags, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's up to you to decide. Chambered. Alrighty. I doubt it's going to lock back, but let's try it. Make sure it's tapped in good. It is. Alrighty. Nothing. Interesting, okay. So when the slide's forward, safety's on. When the slide's forward, and I'm pointed this in a safe direction, mag drops free. Now if the slide's back, mag doesn't drop free. You have to strip it. So maybe it's an advantage that it doesn't like the slide back because it'll actually kick your mags free. I don't know. I do know that this issue is not a thing with the VP9 Match. That's all I can say. So overall, what do I think of these ETS magazines? To me, these are a perfect range mag that's made in the USA, backed by a lifetime warranty, and makes it convenient to train with and to see what kind of round capacity you still have remaining in your magazines. While they function flawlessly in the VP9 Match as they were designed for, we did run into some minor issues in the P30SK, where they would not lock the slide to the rear after the last round was fired. However, they would still drop free provided the slide was in the forward position, and we had zero feeding issues of any kind. They're lightweight, they drop free reliably, and they feed very reliably as long as you keep in mind that the wall of the magazine is slightly thicker and that your overall length has to be slightly shorter. On these 12 rounders, for instance, these 3 12-round ETS magazines cost less than one single German OEM factory magazine here for my P30SK. Now that being said, which magazines am I going to carry? This one right here. This German magazine usually sits in my P30SK as I'm carrying it. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt this magazine is going to be 100% reliable from what I have tested it, and it's what I count on in serious situations. That being said, this isn't a magazine that I'm going to beat up, that I'm going to toss in rocks or gravel or whatever, unless of course it's an emergency situation. However, that's where these guys really shine. In all honesty, I believe this polymer is actually even more durable than a steel when it comes to abrasion resistance and that kind of thing, and they are very forgiving. Steel, obviously you can scratch the coating, whatever, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, they definitely have value, and I'm glad I got them. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching our videos here on the Reload and Craft channel. If you have any comments, questions, leave them down below. Any new video ideas, stay tuned, as we are going to be doing a bunch of projectile load development and testing here over the next couple months. I'm working with a couple companies, specifically component companies at the moment, to test out various projectiles, and we got some very exciting things on the way to you guys. Thanks as always, stay safe, and keep on reloading.